there is a very, very high probability that you are ruining your therapy experience by focusing on this one thing.
And while you're focusing on this one thing, my question to you is, what questions are you actually asking your coach or therapist as you go about looking around for that person for you so that you have the best experience? That's what we're going to talk about in this episode.
Hey everybody, it's Bianca.
Welcome back, Evolvers. It's Emilia. And today we are going to help you, dear listener, dear viewer, get a better experience when it comes to therapy, when it comes to coaching, when it comes to any type of mentorship that helps you grow and evolve to be your very best version of yourself, because that's what we do at Evolve. And that is what every single day Bianca and I behind the scenes are pining for. So by the time that you are done with this episode, by the time you are done with this video, my goal, our intention is to have you walk away with some very simple, applicable tactics to be able to help you have a better, high quality therapy coaching experience. So to get us started in this, Bianca, you and I have had multiple conversations around how do you define a high quality therapy experience? And is the eye of quality in the person who is doing the work, which you could put that into two categories, the therapist or the person, because anyone that wants to believe that therapy it doesn't require you to do any work is telling you a lie. Or is it in the person, the chair who is going through that therapeutic journey? And we could argue one way or another. However, I think one of the things that is really striking about this conversation that my alarm system is going off is as more and more people come into their own recognition at their own time, which is freaking amazing. Let's just celebrate that for a hot sec, of getting someone in their corner, be it a therapist, be it a coach, be it a mentor, be it a guide, be it someone who is an unbiased individual that can help them apply tools and techniques that actually help them become a better version of themselves. Not just that, but also be able to regulate themselves, to manage their distress tolerance, to really understand themselves at a deeper level. When they're doing that and on that journey, they are coming square dead in the face with this one experience that, if it's not set up really well, I find, and what you and I are finding, is that it ends up kind of creating this tailspin of experience that no longer qualifies as quote unquote good or high quality therapy. And so where the inspiration for this episode came from is a multitude of different dialogues that we've had with the Evolve community and with clients that we are so privileged to be able to have that chair in their life, the privilege, the honor of really helping them through their growth journey. And one of the red flags that we see that have helped us understand what are the components that people are thinking about therapy at this point in the juncture of their lives. And the inspiration really came from not just one of my clients, but many clients, other people. We've heard so many different arenas. We see the stats. We are behind the scenes in people's lives. And this one red flag that I saw come up was when a client came to me and had essentially sent a text message where she was about to have a session. We were about to have a session. And what I understood from that message was that she was going through a really hard time, right? As we all are. But the message, for obviously keeping it anonymous, the message was essentially, I am struggling to pull myself to the session today because I don't really feel good about taking care of myself right now. And the communication around that was essentially a moment where that person, understandable, when you're going through something, the last thing that you feel like doing is sitting in a chair and talking to someone about it. And when you're going through it and you're not feeling great about yourself, and when the only thing that you have to do on your calendar is to actually get into that container to do the quote unquote work, and knowing that it's not going to feel good initially, that's really tough. And so the red flag around that was less around her admittance and her vulnerability within that, but how that led to her avoiding a session, how that led to her consistently avoiding the work that she needs to do because of the misconception that it's going to feel good to take care about yourself or to take care of yourself in that container. And it's going to feel good to do that work. So that's what I want to talk about, Bianca. Let's dig in.
Yeah. And the need for it to feel good, because it's not just an expectation that it's going to, but it's this extraordinary need for it to feel good as a byproduct of how bad so many people do feel. I can't tell you the amount of, you and I talk about this all the time, the amount of clients that are like, I didn't want to come to session today, or the amount of clients that have literally canceled a session. And when I ask why, they said, because I can't do this today. I don't want to get into it today. I wasn't in the mood for therapy. I didn't want to feel sad today, or whatever the case may be. And you and I, we try to hold the duality of being so compassionate for something like that, while also holding the standard of that's not a good reason. It's not a justifiable reason. To what I had alluded to in the beginning, and really what this episode is going to be diving into, is the thing that is ruining your experience of therapy is the misunderstanding and the misconception that it is supposed to feel good, that it's not supposed to be hard, that you're not supposed to struggle, that there is not going to be extraordinary effort and discomfort tied into it. It's just, it is a myth. And I think so many people, actually, I am certain that so many people are having a disservice done to them and by them, like by themselves, by going into these experiences, or by only going into these experiences if there is an expectation of, and with the expectation of, this is supposed to make me feel good, or this is supposed to make me feel better.
Right.
Therapy is eventually going to make you feel good. Therapy is eventually going to make you feel better holistically, but not today, not tomorrow. And when you go into it with that expectation, you're doing yourself so dirty, because you're not actually allowing the process to be what it is supposed to be, and therefore you're not getting the full experience of it, which will eventually get you exactly what you want.
Yeah, it's such a conundrum, because what I find is fascinating is that this client in particular, she entered into the container, and I'm talking like 6 months ago to this. It was actually 9 months by the time she had said this. And I remember one of her emails saying that she knows that this is going to be really difficult. She knows that there's going to be a lot of discomfort. She knows that all of these things that we're talking about. And although she doesn't particularly look forward and roll out of bed, like, I'm so excited for it to be hard today. I'm so excited for it to be challenging. I'm so excited to get outside my comfort zone. Like, that isn't something that like she got super excited to do. However, she did have that expectation, that understanding. And at that time, she had a really positive and adaptive relationship with that process, which I thought was super interesting, because somewhere along the way, what eventually I came to understand was that she had influences in her life that were whispering the tune of, it shouldn't be hard. You shouldn't have to go outside your comfort zone. You should always feel good. And if you're not feeling good, that's your barometer for where to stay, where to go, and what to avoid. And unfortunately, this woman has a couple of really poor influences in her life, where she's listening to those individuals who just seek pleasure, that just seek comfort, that just seek feeling good experiences throughout their entire life, and thereby are inherently avoiding everything that is uncomfortable, avoiding everything that is challenging, avoiding everything that would push them outside of their comfort zone in order to feed their own ego. And so this is one of the really big challenges when it comes to you starting your own trek, when it comes to your growth journey, because the associations that you have and that you keep and that you pick up along the way, they won't have the same level of expectation or understanding of what actually high quality therapy really is. And more often than not, those associations will rub off on you to eventually where they will derail your progress, they will derail your process, and they will have you kind of gaslighting yourself that this isn't something that you should be doing because you cannot handle it. And I posted something recently in my story, or it was a repost of someone's wonderful account, that I always try to elevate artists on social platforms that do beautiful work. And the quote was something that in the area of whatever you avoid, you're building the belief that you cannot handle it or that you cannot tolerate it. So in a nutshell, that is essentially what this woman was doing. And so as given the permission slip that she had given me ahead of time prior to us working, which is something that I will always do with clients, is if I'm going to be in this position with you in your life, then we need to level set expectations that there are going to be times where you're not going to want to do this. You're not going to want to feel good, or you're not going to want to do this because you want to feel good. And you want your emotional barometer to be the quote unquote gauge as to whether or not to start, stop, continue, pull back, etc. And the permission slip that we had granted and mutually agreed upon to, I revisited that and I said, hey, like, I understand that you might be really overwhelmed, and that's understandable. Like, we can talk about what's on your plate right now and we can break that down. However, given the permission slip that you had shared with me, like this, it is concerning that the emotions and having to feel good is what's dictating your ability to get in the arena to do the things that are absolutely necessary that you can't not do and still want the desires, the goals to eventually get better in these arenas. And so it kind of put her in a pinch 22, and no one likes being called forward in that aspect. And I understand. But she later, admitted to me, she's like, I didn't know what else to do. And it's like, that's not fully true. So we kind of went back and forth, and she's like, thank you for calling out my BS, because the belief systems that we have that are temporarily informed by our emotional experiences and those emotional parts of ourselves can really derail the progress. And had I not level set those expectations prior to our overall engagement, had I not made sure that, what the training that Bianca, you and I's training are really like SEAL team level in what it is, this experience is, had I not been able to revert to my training on things like that, it would be so easy to just let that woman off the hook and be like, I don't want to ruffle the feathers, which is what a normal relationship would do. But in that context, that's not what this relationship was engaged upon. And therefore, I think the bigger conversation that you and I want to have around this is when we think about the training systems that are in play for coaches, for therapists, for anyone that's in the seat of a mentor or a guide, what happens when you aren't taught to navigate the discomfort of someone who may be a client, doesn't want to do the work, might point the finger at you, and that has a moment of discomfort of like, oh my God, you don't want to come to our session? Like, is it me? Right? Because we are all human behind the scenes, but are you stepping into this as a professional? And I think that that's the concern that I have as it pertains to therapy. And as people are taking this trek, more people, and we look at the statistics on this, it is alarming. More people are trying to get someone in their corner who, like ChatGPT, is going to validate them, going to let their emotions dictate their experiences and their behaviors, and who is just going to help them feel good at the expense of actual skill development, which is what's going to help someone get to wherever they want to go and why they're entering in therapy in the first place. So the last thing I'll say here is we do not go to therapy and we do not engage in high quality therapy to feel good. That is not at all what the experience is. And that might be the brutal truth you might need to hear. And the loving truth is that we go to therapy, we go to coaching, we go to these containers in order to do the work so that eventually, keyword eventually, we can have the skills to manage the emotions that come up, be they feeling better or be they feeling worse. And that's, I think, the narrative that needs to get flipped around this. Bianca, what are your thoughts? What are you observing? And what are your comments on this?
There's been a lot of, I wish I could quote the articles and the journals that have come out on this, but unfortunately I can't right now. I will, if I find them, I will provide them in the links down below, so you guys know we're not just talking out of thin air like a lot of podcasters do, unfortunately. But there is a lot of data to support the fact that the people who have an idea that you're supposed to be happy and that spend their life chasing happiness and feeling good end up having worse qualities of life and worse just lives in general, because chasing happiness is an illusion and you end up living basically a lie. You're not experiencing the totality of life. You're not developing skills. You're not learning how to navigate circumstances and situations adaptively and appropriately. And instead, the illusion that you're chasing is feeling good. And so the people who do that don't develop the skills, they don't develop the competencies, they don't develop the awarenesses, they don't learn the truth about life, which is that you are going to have all of the emotions and a bunch of different experiences, and it's not good or bad, it just is what it is. But when we are living in a world where the narrative is feel good, look good at any cost, of course you're going to go out of your way to try to do that and to not have to feel bad. That is ruining your life. Trying to chase happiness, trying to chase feeling good, trying to run away from discomfort is ruining your life, and it is going to make you very weak and very incompetent, and it is going to make you have a much harder life. And Emilia and you and I always will be candid with the people that are in our community and the people who give us that permission slip by coming into our corner and working with us one-on-one. I had 4 separate clients this week. It's only Wednesday when we're recording this. It's only Wednesday. I've had 4 clients say something along the lines of, there have been so many days and so many times when I did not want to come to therapy. I didn't want to see you. I was pissed off at you. You were telling me truths I didn't want to hear. I was having to do things I didn't want to do. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm so much more capable than I've ever been. My life is better than it's ever been. And no, it's not always perfect, but I feel more capable than I've ever felt to be able to handle life. I'm getting opportunities I never would have gotten before. There's new people coming into my life that never would have been there before. And it is solely because you didn't let me try to just feel good. You actually helped me to feel safe enough to not feel good. And then to do the real work.
Let's go.
4 people in 3 days because we work technically Monday to Sunday, but we see, whatever, you know what I'm saying?
That's wild though.
It's
for real.
It's not about feeling good. And as somebody who didn't feel good for most of my life, I get the appeal. I really do. When you're hurting so much and you're in so much pain or just so much discomfort, the last thing you want to do is go to a setting where your narrative is, this is going to make me feel good, and then hear, hey, by the way, you're going to be pissed off at me and you're not going to want to come to session, and I'm going to say things that you're not going to like, and you're going to have to do work. And there's going to be times where it's going to be really uncomfortable. They're going to be like, I think I'm all set. I'm going to go do that 30-day course that's somewhere on Instagram that says I'm going to feel good tomorrow. I'm going to go do that. And what always inevitably ends up happening is we say, okay, good luck. We wish you the sincerest best. And then a month or 2 months or 6 months or a year goes by and that person ends up coming back and is like, hey, remember me?
Without fail.
Remember me? So it didn't work, obviously. I know you said it wasn't going to work.
Shoot. Now I'm in the aftermath of like, you were right, and I hate doing that. My ego can't handle that. So I'll probably actually avoid you after this conversation.
Seriously. Or they'll get the humility and they'll have the humility and they'll be like, you know what? You were right. I wasn't ready. I'm ready now. Can we dive into it? So in the last couple of minutes as we head to wrap up, what is the evolve standard of good therapy? What is the evolved standard that we are setting of what high quality therapy is? Because it is our sincerest belief here at Evolve that therapists are not being equipped with the tools that they need to do high quality, effective therapy. The systems out there, a lot of the old school systems are failing people. And unfortunately, because a lot of clinicians themselves are really struggling, it's so hard for them to be that quote unquote bad guy for the clients that they serve, even though they're not being the bad guy. They're being the first person who probably actually cares about this person actually. But in the moment, you look like the bad guy. So what is the evolve standard of high quality therapy that everyone listening to this show needs to make sure that they look for in a therapist, or that they're making sure that they're allowing to happen in the therapy or coaching that they are currently getting? And maybe they're not because they're scared of not feeling good.
So I'm going to frame it like this to start. So when you're not going to expect this. So hopefully what I say with you afterwards is going to stick in your memory the way in which I'm going to frame it. So imagine you're out at lunch and you have this beautiful focaccia grilled tomato basil with a little bit of balsamic glaze. Delicious lunch with one of your best friends. And there's a couple other people that are at the lunch table that you don't really know, but you're in the market of like making some new friends. But you really want a friend that isn't a friend per se. You want someone that's going to be able to tell you the hard truth, someone that will help you navigate the challenges that come up in life. And all of a sudden, you finish up your lunch and you're walking throughout the street, and then you walk by and you happen to catch yourself in the mirror of a front store. And that mirror, you look in, you have this giant thing in your teeth. The spinach has been overlapped so that it looks like you have like 2 teeth missing. And you look around, and some of the people with you, walking with you, you start to question like, wait, like I've had this in my teeth since lunch. It's been like an hour since we've been walking around. I talked to this really cute person, and they were giving me weird. Anyways, would you want someone in your life to be able to tell you, hey, you got spinach in your teeth, maybe pull you aside, do it in a way that it doesn't feel good no matter what, but who has the care and the concern and the compassion to be able to approach you in a unique way that has candor at the center. Candor meaning willing to tell you the truth, even though it's going to be challenging, and who has the compassion in the aftermath of that, who knows what it's like to have been there. When you go
candor, kindness, and compassion, not the person who's a jerk about it and is like, you're fat or whatever. And then they're like, well, you told me to be honest with you. That is not what we're saying.
No.
That's called harm. It's different. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but I needed to make sure that I said that, because there's a lot of people that are like, I'm just honest. No, you're not honest. You're rude.
So candor, curiosity, compassion is the underpinnings of anyone that wants to navigate through an evolved standard. That's essentially what we're talking about. So you have the ability to tell hard truths with the permission, being curious about that unique situation and that unique circumstance within the person's life, and then compassion to know that impact does matter. You can have great intentions all day. However, the impact takes into consideration that other person's set of experiences, the other person's trauma experiences, et cetera, et cetera. And so at the cornerstone of those three things is where the evolved standard is. When you go and you'll look for high quality therapy experience, most individuals and most therapists will be trained on just the basics, which is the approach, the experience, and the progress points. So you might interview a therapist if you're the one going to get therapy, and you might ask about different types of approach. What is the expertise that you have, right? What is your experience? How long have you been in the field? How long have you been practicing? And then the progress. How do you measure progress? Those are just the basics. That doesn't even come close to defining a high quality experience. And what I want to encourage anyone who's in that position to really inquire about and to really consider is when those hard truths come, which means you have an understanding that most individuals are going to go through a hedonic path, meaning that seeking pleasure, avoiding pain is what humans are mostly conditioned to do, as opposed to a utilitarian path within their life, meaning someone who looks for the right solutions in that context, in that time. The evolved standard takes more of a utilitarian approach, mindful of the fact that most people come from a hedonic type background, avoiding pain, seeking pleasure. And so how do you inquire? And these are some of the questions that I want you asking instead of just the basics in order to get a high quality experience. And if you're a therapist listening to this, to be able to come to the evolved standard, that is you considering how will you set your client up for success, not just in the short term so that that person continues to come to the table, but long-term healing journey is something that they have a positive relationship with not absence of fear, challenge, and discomfort, but with that right there hand in hand. And so what are the hard truths that I need to hear in order to understand your unique approach, your unique experience that you take clients through, and the progress points that you actually have? How do you measure that? And what are the actual data points that we're going to be tracking together? The call outs versus call forwards. When I go through a tough time and when I am in the seat of letting my emotions take over and be the guiding compass for how we navigate future sessions or how I avoid sessions, how are you, dear therapist that aspires to the evolved standard, going to approach with candor, curiosity, and compassion that moment for me? Because that's going to be a challenging moment, and how we overcome that is what says everything about you, right? Because you're the type of person who cares that I have spinach in my teeth because you know the impact of that. And then lastly, when I want to cling on to those feel-good moments, how long will you sit in those with me and then get to work? How long will you allow me and encourage me to really feel my feelings, not to pathologize them, but to also help me understand how much power and control I have over those? Right? Because that then lends itself into the constructive theory of emotion. So there's a lot of different components. We're going to continue to break down the evolved standards so that whether you're a clinician, whether you're a practicing clinician that's been in the industry for years and you're really struggling to really help deliver a high quality experience, or whether you're someone who's in the chair of the client, you can have a high standard within the experience that you have, and that high standard is delivered upon with high quality and not just the quote unquote basics. Because at this point, from my perspective, we just have to do better because we are not emotionally prepared for what's going to happen and what's going to come in the future. And that's where getting a high quality experience, these questions, these cornerstones are incredibly critical to understand the whole person. So in closing, my episode suggestion is 341. Are you wearing your trauma like a badge of honor, Bianca?
Oof. 448. What real validation looks like. My final sentiment: therapy is not meant to make you feel good. Therapy is not here to boost your own ego and tell you you did nothing wrong. Real high value, high quality therapy actually helps you to acknowledge all of who you are, to actually have compassion and candor and kindness and humility and all of these traits with yourself and others, and then to repair and to heal and to make progress. And it's going to suck and you're not going to want to do it 98% of the time. And if you give yourself the chance to let it suck, to let it be a challenge, to let it hurt, you get all of the benefits on the other side more than you can even imagine. So this is our call to you as a therapist listening to this who wants to be better, or as a human being who is struggling to let themselves go through this process. Give yourself the permission to actually finally take care of you, because nobody else has and they're not going to. And it's on you to give yourself a magnificent life.
Love this conversation. Thank you for those of you who joined us and who stayed all along the way. We hope that this gave you hope at the end of the day, that you can evolve your consciousness so that you can have a better life, because that, at the end of the day, that's what we're here for. So that being said, we are always open to new clients. Please send us a DM, comment on this down on YouTube. Let us know what resonated with you. And as always, you are welcome in this Evolve community. We are here for you always. And we hope you enjoyed this episode.
See you next time, everybody. Bye.
Bye.